30th at SummerSlam, and Roman Reigns like never before.
What if I told you that the WWE Universe just witnessed one of the most shocking moments in wrestling history? It all went down on Raw, where Brock Lesnar, the Beast Incarnate, not only stood tall over a broken Roman Reigns, but did something no one saw coming. After a brutal attack that left Roman limping on crutches, we all expected more destruction, more vengeance. But what Brock did next sent shockwaves through the locker room, the fans, and the entire WWE world. It's the Crutches heard around the world, and trust me, you won't want to miss this story. Buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and let's dive into the explosive aftermath of Brock Lesnar's epic vengeance on Roman Reigns. The Bloodline, the rise of an empire. The WWE has always thrived on shifting allegiances and fractured alliances, with only one true constant: the ruthless pursuit of power. In recent years, there was one faction that stood above all others, not just as a force of dominance, but as the face of the company's future. That faction was the Bloodline. At its peak, the Bloodline was invincible. The centerpiece of this faction was Roman Reigns, the tribal chief. Roman was everything WWE fans could have dreamed of in a leader: strong, charismatic, and unrelenting. His reign as the undisputed champion was legendary, leaving a trail of broken bodies in his wake. With Paul Heyman by his side, the wise man who managed to elevate Roman's career to unimaginable heights, the Bloodline became the cornerstone of WWE for years. The betrayal, the architect of ruin. As Roman Reigns and the Bloodline dominated, a new storm was brewing on the horizon. Paul Heyman, who had been the architect behind Reigns' success, began to question his loyalty. Heyman, ever the opportunist, saw a window of opportunity and made an unexpected move that would shatter Roman's world. Heyman, not content with merely advising, forged an alliance with Seth Rollins, Mr. Money in the Bank, a man who had long been waiting for his chance to seize the spotlight. Together, with the raw and brutal strength of Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, Heyman formed a new faction, one that could easily dismantle the Bloodline and take over the throne that Reigns had worked so hard to build. Roman Reigns, a fallen king. The atmosphere backstage at WrestlePalooza 2025 was heavy, thick with pain and silence. As Roman limped through the back hallways on crutches, each step was a reminder of the brutal assault he had just endured. Gone was the aura of invincibility that had once surrounded him. Instead, the tribal chief was now a broken man, forced to navigate the backstage area with the weight of defeat pressing on his shoulders. He was no longer the undisputed champion, no longer the kingpin of the company. His title had been ripped from him, and his family, his blood, had abandoned him. He had fought tooth and nail for everything he had built, but now it all lay in ruins. Even his most trusted ally, Paul Heyman, had turned on him. What remained of his pride had been shattered in that very moment of betrayal. Roman's eyes were filled with a mixture of anger, confusion, and disbelief. The very man who had promised him power, glory, and the world had abandoned him for the sake of his own ambition. The chaos was too much to handle, and he was left to pick up the broken pieces of his kingdom. Brock Lesnar, the Beast Incarnate. Brock Lesnar was a man who needed no introduction. The Beast Incarnate, the conqueror, the ultimate predator in the WWE. For years, he had been the thorn in Roman's side, the man who had come closest to dethroning him on multiple occasions. Their rivalry was legendary, a tale of two men who had pushed each other to their absolute limits in brutal battles for supremacy. But what stood before Roman now was not the angry, vengeful Brock Lesnar of the past. This Brock Lesnar was different. He stood tall, his physique imposing and unwavering, his eyes cold and focused. There were no signs of weakness in his posture, no sign of the chaos that had taken place moments earlier. It was as if time itself had frozen in place when Brock appeared. The unexpected alliance, Brock Lesnar wasn't here for Roman Reigns. He was here for Paul Heyman, the very same Paul Heyman who had used both of them, manipulated them into the roles they now found themselves in. Roman had been betrayed by his own advocate, the man who had made him a champion. And now Brock Lesnar had found common ground with Roman, not out of respect for him as an individual, but out of a mutual hatred for Heyman. The years of animosity between Roman and Brock melted away in that moment. There were no longer any thoughts of past rivalries or grudges. It was clear that Heyman had crossed a line that neither of them could forgive. Both men had been pawns in his game, and now they would stand together to take down the true enemy, Paul Heyman. The new war, Heyman's regime versus Lesnar and Reigns. As WrestlePalooza 2025 came to a close, the WWE Universe was left in shock. The implications of this new alliance were staggering. Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, and Bronson Reed, the new monsters under Heyman's control, had just become the focal point of a war that could change the very landscape of WWE. The chemistry between Lesnar and Reigns was undeniable. Brock brought unmatched raw power, while Roman had the strategic mind of a leader. Together, they formed a force that would be nearly impossible to defeat. They had nothing to lose and everything to gain.